This is how I win.
This is no democracy. It is a dictatorship.
Hate. Double hate.
Loathe entirely. You're out of order! You're out of order!
Everything that guy just says is bullshit. Thank you.
Life is cruel.
I don't give a what the deal was. The deal is now changed. Either you stay or you go. It's up to you. End of discussion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to YLS. This is the first of our four-part top 40 for the top 40 animated movies. I've got a passionate panel, an interesting panel. Things are going to
colored panel.
What? I don't know what you get.
He said a colored panel.
Not touching that. Okay. Well, yes, we've got Paul Oyama. Paul, are you excited for this episode?
I'm honestly I was stoked. I've been pestering Boatman and Koho and Cody about this episode for like the last 4 months or something. So I mean, this was like honestly the series I was most excited for, even more than Top 100. I really love animated movies, and I think being able to talk about them is just really exciting, and like some ones that people maybe haven't heard of or aren't aware of, and some classic favorites. So I'd like to mix it up. But I mean, I'm stoked, and I think it's a really interesting panel. This is gonna be a weird list between the four of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that. Koho was supposed to host this originally, and then he kind of passed it off to me, and because I wanted to be on it when I thought Koho was hosting, and I had like my top 40 ready, and now that has completely changed because I've had to watch some other movies, so we'll see how that goes. But Chance, you are also here, Chance Ellison.
Yes.
Also here. That's your descriptor, Chance also.
Yes, I am in fact also here.
Yes.
My yearbook superlative was almost here.
Almost
also here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm excited to have you on this episode. I think you've got some interesting takes.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on the show multiple times saying how much I love animation. I've been on the internet everywhere saying how much I love animation. It is one of my favorite mediums of film. Just because so much I'll get into like later in the show. But yeah, no, this is a fun list to make. I'm excited to talk about these picks.
Absolutely. And I think that just kind of goes, not besides Nazario, you threw out necessarily the ones I think of when I think of like animated movies in terms of this community. Not that like you're not, but like Nazario I absolutely associate with like animated movies. The rest of you not really, but I think that's what's going to make it interesting.
Well, it's none of us have had kids. None of us have kids.
That's fair. And none of you are kids. Like we associate Koho and Wholesome with anime.
Someone argue the Paul and I.
It is fair, relatively. Mark, I'm always interested in your film taste because you are the big chill. You have a really good poker face, and I can rarely like gauge your opinion. Sometimes you really surprise me, like when you love 500 Days of Summer. Like that was like one of the happiest moments of my life, and then Cody just came and took crap on it, and then I got sad again. But how do you think you're gonna do?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I mainly wanted to come on here just because I felt like my list would be really fun to talk about, especially after diving into some not like really super, like not like really particular like anime. Like, I mean, I always liked anime as a kid. Obviously, I think we all did. But you know, I just thought I wasn't. Whenever I made it initially, I did not intend to make a hot takey list, and I think I ended up making one by mistake. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh boy!
Speaking of hot takes, Nazario, never one to shy away from his opinion. You're probably the one most associated with animated movies here. So that means if your list isn't the absolute best, then it's awful.
So what are we doing here?
Yeah,
I have my previous experience with the top 100, where I realized I have taste that no many people share. So I expect about the same reaction for this. I mean, I do watch a lot of animated movies, I have watched a bunch of movies that other people haven't watched. That just means I am broad. I have experience. Doesn't mean I share tastes.
That's fair.
Well,
so
buy our shit.
Fair enough. Without further ado, we'll get started. Tonight we'll be going through top 31. If you have a yikes for this episode, yikes for this episode. If you have a yikes past your 31 spot, then yikes for later. We're going to go Paul, Chance, Mark, then Nazario. We're going to get started with your 40 through 38. So, Paul, get us started with your 40 through 38.
All right. My number 40 is Mary and Max. My number 39 is Loving Vincent. And my number 38 is Mirai. So, Mary and Max, this is Adam Elliott's independently produced and financed and created animated film starring Philip Seymour Hoffman as this old man who befriends a young girl and they're pen pals. And it's this really melancholic but also beautiful and funny animated film that's like, I mean, I just think it has a lot of different interesting levels to it, and it really burrows into your soul. I think it's really a fascinating movie. Loving Vincent, my number 39, is to me one of the most beautifully animated films ever made. I think like it, it's about Vincent van Gogh and it mimics his sort of his style of art. And I think it, even besides that, it is an engaging mystery kind of to itself. But I think like specifically the animation is just so unique and special. And it's the first ever painted animated movie to ever be made. And I think it's like visually like just an absolute feast for the eyes. And then my number 38, Mirai. This is from one of my favorite filmmakers, period. Not even just an animation, Mamoru Hosoda. And it's about a young child who gets a younger sister in his family and is no longer the kind of object of his parents' affection. And it's him dealing with this new fact. And he goes through this spiritual and sometimes fantastical journey, meeting other people at different phases of their lives. It blends kind of reality. And I think it's just a really beautifully told story that's really from the heart of a child. And you really feel like it's almost made by a kid. And it has that kind of purity to it. And I think it's really beautiful and gorgeous. And yeah, one of my favorite animated movies. So those are my bottom three.
Yeah. So Mary and Max, you're 40. I watched this one today. And the first half hour I kind of hated. I feel like there was a lot of excessive narration in this, and that was kind of my biggest problem. This movie relies a little too heavily on the narration. I'm not talking about the letters. The actual like letters are great, but just kind of the omniscient narration from that perspective, that didn't quite work for me. I got a little bored at that because it was basically just somebody talking at me is what it felt like instead of characters revealing themselves. So that was off. But then once the film actually started going, I kind of came around to it. So solid. I'll give you a pass, especially because it's your 40. 39. Loving Vincent I was one of the few people that saw Loving Vincent in a theater. And the film, I'll give you, film looks beautiful. I didn't quite get into the actual story of it all. I felt like the actual like meat of the film was kind of boring. But I'll give you, film itself looks gorgeous. I get why it was nominated because it looks like a Van Gogh painting. So absolutely beautiful. Just didn't quite love the actual plot. And then 38, Mirai. I also just watched Mirai, and this was weird and interesting, and I think I liked it, question mark, because I think this is one of those rare movies where I almost feel like not knowing anything about it going in almost hindered me a little bit, because I went in completely blind and got very lost halfway through. Because this is definitely one of those films that like blurs the line between like what is happening in the actual reality and like is this all in this kid's head? And I got a little confused there. But there are some really great moments. It's a very short moment, but the person he meets with at the train station before he goes to the train, that tiny moment I loved. And the stuff with the sister, I thought there were a lot of really great moments in. I think this is one of those films I want to give a second shot to now that I actually know what's happening. So yeah, we will go to Chance for your 40 through 38.
Okay, I'm counting on the extra my 40, and my 40 is Tower. Oh wow, I'm even wow for me, Paul. I'm impressed. Number 39 is South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, and my 38 is the Lego Movie.
Yikes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Tower. This is actually one I discovered I'd watched because of this show. I think Paul actually brought it up to me. So yeah, it's basically a rotoscope style documentary about a time where a sniper basically held UT hostage. I'm a Texas native, so like this is one that actually I was familiar with the story, but I'd never seen this movie, and I think that this is a type of animated film I don't see very often. I mean, I've seen rotoscope animation films and tons of stuff, but to tell it like to put it in this medium, it's not a story this like horrific. I think actually helps kind of like bring home the point of the film more. In a way, makes it more accessible, but also making it more horrifying. Seeing like these animated people get like brutally like shot and killed, and yeah, bring the paranoia of it to like a lot of light. And also makes you see this event in a new form. It's a really solid film. Only reason it's lower on my list is because I do think it's great. Documentaries aren't really my thing. I'm more of a narrative feature guy. So, but I do want to touch on the Tower because I do think this is an excellent film. And South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut. This comes from me being a huge, massive South Park fan. I think the show is fantastic, and I remember like there was one summer where when it was on Netflix, I like binged through the whole show. I'm like, oh, there's a movie in this. I need to watch it, and yeah, I really liked it a lot then. But like as I got older, I see like it had a lot to say about censorship and just how just the idea of what like vulgarity and being like a satire of like the political climate at the time. I think it's hilarious. I think it's brilliant. I think the songs are all awesome. I think it's incredibly rewatchable. And yeah, it's a movie that it's simplistic in its approach. It's very short. I don't even think it's like a full 100 minutes. But yeah, still, I always have a good time when I turn on South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut.
Yeah, I'll just say right now, I did not get a chance to get to your 40 just because it was the lowest on your list.
Yeah,
not a little bit out of time. I started watching it and thought, this is way too heavy to watch while I am eating. So I was like, nah.
You gave that exact same to Fruitvale Station. Look what happened.
Yeah. You basically you get a pass on that. But I probably would like it. I should give this an actual watch at some point. You're 39. I am not a South Park fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the show. That being said, I really like South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Really?
I really like the movie. I find the show, it's very hit or miss. There are some episodes I really like of the show, but I don't love the show. That type of humor usually doesn't really work for me. I'm not really into shock value humor, but I think that the movie toes the line in like the weirdest way possible that really works. And I think it is partially because the movie is like this parody of Disney musicals in a sense. Like you've got the opening, which feels very much reminiscent of Bell. You've got Satan has the I Want song, which is amazing. Yeah. And then you've got the Les Mis parody in the middle with La Resistance, basically being a parody of One Day More, which is amazing. It's my favorite song in the movie. I think that kind of just goes to what the 90s did, which was in order to be smart, they had to be stupid. They had to kind of sneak in the intelligent messages into kind of these dumber movies. Like Wayne's World is kind of similar in that regard, where I think that's a movie that is much smarter than it looks. But this is a good pick, solid pick. Mark, you're 40 through 38.
All right, here we go. All right, my number 40 is Transformers the movie.
Oh Jesus.
God.
My 39 is Recess School's Out.
God bless.
And my 38 is the Peanuts movie.
Yikes.
Oh, really?
Big yikes for later.
Fucking awesome. I love that. All right.
Mark, I love you.
Now let's get started on the real classic Transformers the movie. Like this movie kind of halfway it halfway kind of represents also G.I. Joe the movie. I ended up going with this one because it's theatrically released. I have two way older brothers. They grew up with all this, and by that, like, I watched this movie a ton of times, and like I have a weird appreciation for this movie, mainly because of how just batshit crazy that it is, and that we're 15 minutes in and we're like capping main characters, like just a bunch of main characters just getting killed like in the first 20 minutes, and like you don't really know why. And then we're with like the B team crew and we're trying to kill Unicron, and then there's this planet with trash people, like fucking Autobots. Like it is a weird fucking movie, and like it's one that I kind of enjoy going back to just from time to time, and it's one that's been in my life for a really long time.
You got the touch.
You got the power.
39 Recess School's Out, which is I mean this kind of culminates into probably I think a theme, at least for this week, at least my list. I'm just like, I wanted to try to put together like a lot of the funner movies that like I just have a lot of fun seeing. I've just seen a ton. Recess School's Out fits that bill 100%. I mean, who of us when we were 10 years old didn't think adults are trying to ruin our lives and destroy summer vacation? Like, we obviously all thought that at some point. And I mean, and it's just like, and watching it again today, like it's just weird and it's silly, and it's just, it's about as kid as it gets. Like, I mean, they're fighting adults with water balloons and shaking up soda cans. It's just, it is really weird. And you know what? Anytime you get James Woods to do a villain voice, I mean, come on, it's great.
So on your 40, you are so lucky I did not have time to watch this. You are so lucky. I because it was your 40, and because I have never watched an episode of the Transformers cartoon, this was my lowest priority to watch. Because I knew I was going to have a bad time. So I just didn't put myself through that. So you are lucky in that regard.
You're lucky in that regard, I think.
I feel like you would enjoy the first 20 minutes. I'll say that. I feel like you would enjoy the first 20 minutes. First 20 minutes is pretty solid.
Sure. 39, Recess School's Out. Recess is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I love Recess. I love that whole cast of characters. I grew up watching Recess, like reruns of Recess on, at that point. They were on like the ABC Kids block on Saturday mornings, and they played the reruns on Disney Channel all the time. I think it's one of like the most inventive cartoon shows ever, because it just takes those things that kids think of at recess and the actual things that like happen at recess, and let's just make them these gigantic things. Probably my favorite episode is the ratings game episode where the Ashleys give everyone their numbers. That's hilarious. But School's Out goes even crazier, and yeah, it's very fun. James Woods is such a good villain in this. He's very funny. Just like with how obsessed he is, and you see the flashback of him and like as an idealistic teacher. It's great. This is this like an incredible movie? No. Is this a fun little movie? Perfect for like the 39 spot. If you had it any higher, like anything past 38, I'd say you're crazy. This is fair. Dario, we'll go to you.
Okay. Hearing that, I don't have no idea where I'm gonna place on this. So let's go. Number 40 is the one movie that I actually changed from when I originally did this list last year. It took out the Dark Crystal, but it is
thank
the
God.
Mitchells versus the Machines.
Hey.
Yikes to a later episode.
Like, hey, Dark Crystal's great. Fuck off, ball. But
Okay. My 39, it's a Moana.
is that yikes? Hold on.
And my 38 is Monster House. Okay.
You're clean.
So nobody has Moana, right?
No.
Moana is a movie that I did not see coming. Moana was released the same year as Zootopia, the movie that took like all the hype and all the Disney things that year. But
Calm down, Paul. Calm down.
They dropped this movie basically by the tail end of the year, and I honestly didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if they just wanted to release a princess movie for the end of the year to have something marketable for Christmas. But it surprised me because I think it's a movie that is a lot more subtle in its message than other Disney movies were done at the time. And even with The Rock trying his best to steal the spotlight, I think the story shines through. I like the way it touches with the spirit of wanting to be free, wanting to travel, wanting to do new things, and how she grows up as long as the movie goes along and becomes what she was destined to be. Some people complain about the ending and how Disney doesn't do real villains anymore, but I actually think for this particular case, I really enjoyed the twist and the message that they give you in the end. For 38, Monster House. Yes. This movie was written by Darren Harmon from Rick and Morty. I found that today, which is insane because I really like this movie. I always was the kid who enjoy the things that are a little more scary than kids get these days. And I feel that this 2006 movie was kind of a back form to that. Like, it's a movie that it basically tells a horror story, but it's made for kids. And I have kind of attest, having shown it to my kid, that kids do enjoy being a little scared. The animation hasn't grown up as good as I expected, because honestly, everything from this period was very crudely CGI animated still. Like, it wasn't to the point that it isn't noticeable anymore. And I think they used kind of that technology where they were tracing people's faces partly for this movie, which is very, very hit and miss. But the movie's funny. It's scary. The twist of what happens in the house next door and how the kids get scared by it and the adults don't believe them what's happening, and it turns out to be really what is happening. It's pretty brilliant, and it has some jokes that to this day make me laugh, like the uvula, and it's a very fun, scary little movie. I think more people need to find.
Honestly, the amazing thing is that they put that in the trailers. That is the most amazing thing. But we'll get back over to your 40, or not your 40. That was a yikes. Your 39, or was his 40 a yikes?
No,
yes, it was. Okay, you're 39. How does this show work? 39, Moana. There are people who love Moana. I am one of the people who likes Moana. I think Moana is a solid movie, fantastic soundtrack, except for Shiny. I don't love like the last 20 minutes.
Jermaine Clement is fun.
Okay, Shine. Everyone agrees Tomatoa is the worst thing about that movie. But anyway, Moana is a solid movie. It doesn't rank super highly in terms of the Disney princess movies for me, but it's solid. This range is about the right way for it, so I'll give you a pass. 38, Monster House. It's Dan Harmon's writing, but even then, this isn't the sharp Dan Harmon that would go on to do Community and Rick and Morty. This still feels like he's... I mean, he co-wrote this with someone else. It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
And, it kind of shows it still has that kind of clunky 2000s kids movie feel. And I love a lot of 2000s kids movies. This was never one of my favorites as a kid, and going back to it, it's fine. Over Moana feels kind of crazy. But we'll see what else you don't have that you decided Monster House really needed to be on the list. But it's not awful. It is not. So now it's where we get into the meat and potatoes of everything. Now you get to talk about how terrible everyone else's opinions are. So we're going to start off with your 37 through 34. Paul.
By the way, the worst song in Moana is the version of "You're Welcome" that Lin-Manuel Miranda does in closing credits. It's an atrocity. Anyway, my number 37 is Wolfwalkers. So this is Tom Moore. It's an Irish movie from Cartoon Saloon, and it's this really beautiful story about this girl who moves to a new town with her father, and then has a friend in the woods, and sort of that changes her life and her outlook on nature and their relationship. And I just think this is such a beautifully told movie that the music I think is incredible, especially the rendition of "Running with the Wolves." That scene is so beautiful. And I watched Tom Moore's other movies in preparation for this list, but I think this is still my favorite. It's got so much imagination, and I just think that the art style is so specifically gorgeous, and the way it's very this kind of painterly approach I think is just so well done. I love Sean Bean as the father. He gives a great voice performance, I think. And I just think overall it's such a gorgeous movie that I think really kind of went under the radar because it's on Apple TV Plus, so a lot of people just haven't seen it, honestly. But it is like really like warm and thoughtful, and I think it just is top to bottom, has so many different elements that I think are really wonderful. And I'd recommend this to anybody. I know find Zach Ford singing this song at a store near you anytime it gets mentioned. But this movie is just an absolute delight, and if you haven't seen it, like just do like the free trial or something because it's totally worth it. Like this movie rules. Yeah, Wolfwalkers.
Much like everyone else, I don't have Apple TV, so this is one I did not see. This is the last one of tonight that I did not see. There were a lot of movies on this list that I had not seen before. It wasn't just you. I will say it was not just you. But you were the most. Anyone else see Wolfwalkers?
I've seen it. And yeah, no, I do agree with a lot of what Paul said. This one's excellent. It's one of my favorites of last year. There is a Tom Moore movie I have above this or higher than this. This nearly made my list. It was very close, in reality, if I go like a few years down the line, this probably could make my top 40. I just think that if I'm going like recency, I think there are films that would be harder in the last couple of years that Wolfwalkers just didn't. I think it's an excellent film. Sean Bean says Lord Commander a little too many times.
It is funny. Yeah.
He says that a little too many times, like a bad flashback to Game of Thrones. But yeah, no, this film's excellent. It's a great pick, and this is a really great spot for it. If you haven't seen it, please go get Apple TV Plus because they actually do have a lot of good stuff on there.
I used my Apple TV Plus free trial to watch On the Rocks and Judas and the Black Messiah, and I didn't watch this.
That was on Apple Plus?
Was that Apple Plus? I don't remember.
That's HBO Max. But yeah.
Okay.
On the Rocks was.
On the Rocks was. Okay, cool. Mark Nazari, did either of you see this one?
No.
Just
I'm fixing that right now.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll get to Paul's 36.
So my number 36 is not salt. It's not pepper. It is paprika.
Oh, you bastard.
Everyone's favorite Blue's Clues character. This is a terrific biopic about everyone's favorite Blue's Clues character. No, so this is a film from Satoshi Kon, the visionary Japanese filmmaker, and it's about the psychiatrist who goes into people's dreams to try to unlock the secrets of sort of their past and their future and where their mind's at. And the device that is used to access these dreams gets stolen, and so people have to go on a hunt to try and find what's happening. Why is the device stolen? What's happening with it? And this is just one of the most wild and insane animated movies that you'll ever see. I mean, somewhat famously, this is the movie that really inspired the visual approach that Chris Nolan took with Inception. And I think it's got so many great and amazing ideas that are kind of hard to follow. This is another movie where you really don't know what's real and what's fake. Like people come out of a dream and then they're in another dream, and it's like really complicated. But I think it's so beautiful, and all the different ideas in it are really interesting, I think, as far as like what people really believe and what they really seek after that they're not willing to admit when they're awake, and what they dream about, and the idea of sharing dreams with someone as this really intimate sort of act. And it gets really horrifying at parts. This is definitely like not an animated movie for kids, but I think it's fascinating, and is it really a collection strange and beautiful little moments that I think come together really well. I think I like the first half a little more than the second half, although the very end I really, really like a lot. But yeah, this is a movie that like it's pretty wild. All his movies are great, and I'd recommend this to a lot of people. But yeah, it's on Criterion Channel if anybody's got that. But yeah, Paprika, it's a great movie.
Yeah, I was very excited for Paprika because I had heard about the Inception connection. And I think the film is incredibly well made, and it's really well done. I had a very hard time following it, which is kind of the point. Like, that's not a knock really against the movie per se, because that's what the movie's very much trying to be, this kind of complicated, very much what is actually happening here, and like the dream sequences are fantastic, beautiful looking, a lot of them. And the ones that kind of go through a bunch of old movies, like there's a little, I want to say it's a From Russia with Love reference, but I'm not sure, in there at the beginning, when they're on the train, just for like a few seconds. But it's one of those movies, similar to another film by this director. I appreciate it more than I necessarily actually enjoyed it. But it was very good and very well made. Anyone else here seen Paprika?
People know anime is not my forte, but I saw this one after like all the like, hey yo, Inception was inspired by this movie. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And yeah, I felt like I did watch Primer for the first time. Like I felt like I had to go look at the chalkboard and try and like figure this out as I'm watching it. And no, I mean it's good. The animation's great. It's got like I love the visual style of it. I feel like it's a movie I could love if I like kind of Mulholland Drive. Like I could love it if I ever figure it out. I'm still trying. I haven't gotten back to it. But no, yeah, solid pick.
Zara, you would love this, I think, if you haven't seen it.
I have seen it. I saw it when I was 25 years old, and I have never watched it again. I remember clearly enjoying very much the visual parts. I love the part when like there's like the Inception inspiration is clear. There's literally a scene in a corridor where the corridor disappears when the guy's running through it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm thinking right. And I also remember thinking that it was particular that they called the device the DC Mini, because by that time I had like a Discman Mini. It was weird. But yes, I had same issue. I remember the visuals. I remember a lot of the impressions of the images that I got, but the plot was kind of all over the place. And I have seen other movies that do the dreamlike thing a little better, I think, which is maybe why this one hasn't stuck with me. But I mean, it's been long enough. I'll give it a rewatch and see if it maybe makes more sense.
Yeah, that's a long time to say that you don't really want to the movie. But no, we will. Mark, have you seen it?
Because of the Inception tie-in, I've wanted to for a while, but I haven't. Maybe someday.
Fair enough. Paul, you were 35.
Yeah, my 35 is a movie called Ride Your Wave. This is a movie from one of my favorite anime filmmakers named Masaaki Yuasa. He makes a lot of interesting movies. He made this movie called The Night is a Long Walk On Girl that I also really love, or The Night is Short Walk On Girl. But this is a movie about this woman who moves to this town, and she's a surfer, and she befriends this man who is a firefighter who saves her life. And then it's about their relationship and kind of the evolution of that and how it changes her life. And it's to me one of the most poetic and beautiful movies about grief and about how different people deal with it in different ways. It's got a song I'm sure Boatman will mention that will definitely get stuck in your head. I will bet my entire life savings on it. I think I love the kind of like very free flowing style of his animation. This is on HBO Max, by the way, so if you have that, you can check it out. But it's got like a really cool free flowingness to the animation. I think that's really gorgeous. But I think like the main themes are what make it really strong. I love the sequence at the end where they're at the tower and they have to kind of surf down. I think that's like a really gorgeous sequence in particular. But I think it's like this really bright, beautiful, pleasant kind of thing that also, you know, it's got some sadness to it too, but I think it reaches different emotional levels in a really satisfying way. And it's a movie I'm sure like a lot of people have not seen, but it was one of my top 10 favorite movies. I mean, it kind of wide released in 2020, but I saw this in a theater and everything, and I think that experience really made it special for me. But yeah, Ride Your Wave is a movie I really love, and I'd really recommend. It's kind of one under the radar one I'd recommend to people to check out.
Yeah, I had vaguely heard you mention this movie. and I knew it was about surfing or was surfing adjacent. And that was all I knew going in. This movie's fantastic. Really great. The way the song story, I had to mention it. It's one of the best things in the movie. It's super catchy. And the way that it keeps coming back and weaving in and out of the story is really great and really creative. And there's a shift that happens halfway through the movie. I won't say what that shift is, but I was like, okay, this is like a solid movie. And then when that shift happened, oh, okay, that's where we're going with this. And to me, that's when the movie went from good to great. And I think it really tackles a lot of complicated topics in there. But I just love the two main characters. It is actually very difficult, I think, to get actual like chemistry on film, especially with two animated characters, because typically the actors aren't in the same room together. But they do it really well here. You really like both these characters and you want them to be together, which I think is a really difficult task to do. Has anyone else here had the privilege of checking out Ride Your Wave?
I have not. Again, anime, not my forte.
That's fair. Yeah. So Paul just getting the most popular movies out.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of me being on this list.
Oh, I know. You deliberately don't have certain movies on your list sometimes because you're like, well, people will bring those up, which annoys me.
Am I wrong? I still get to talk about them. Speaking of that, I will say, I'm sure my number 34, maybe it won't be X. I think it'll be X. So my number 34 is The Iron Giant.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Come on, later
throw that episode into the.
Okay, so now we're gonna get to Chance.
Okay, I know I've been saying anime is not my forte, but this is what I've seen. I'm expecting the actual it's your name.
That is a yikes to a later episode.
That's what I think.
Episode,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Something else could be a yikes is Anomalisa, my number 36.
That's a yikes, yes.
Yep. Okay. 35. If I go 4 for 4, that's gonna be astounding. 35 is my number Totoro.
Yeah, keep going, Jackson.
Okay, that's just gonna move along. If I get yikes on this, I'm gonna be fucking shocked. My number 34 is Watership Down.
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
So I have like a weird relationship with this movie. I watched this because The Velveteen Rabbit was one of my favorite books when I was younger, and I thought this movie was based on that book. I was like 6 years old, and I'm just like, oh god, what have I done? But yeah, getting seen this. Basically, it's a simple story. It's basically about a bunch of rabbits who are just they know that their dad is about to get fucked over. So like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna find somewhere else. And that's basically the problem. Is them trying to find a new place to live. They encounter this like evil cult of rabbits. This movie is dark. It's crazy. It's violent. It's bloody. Like it's not a movie for young kids. But I don't know. There's something about this I jive with. I love like the stylistic approach to it. I love the use of shadows. I love the use of tone. I think John Hurt, the main rabbit in the film, I think anything he touches is gold. And yeah, I think I really do jive with the story that I love the kind of, weird way to say, the mythos that they craft, because they have the whole thing where why rabbits are the way that they are. It's a whole big part of the story. It's the whole thing about afterlife, about how finding a new place to live, and about how you can only take your family so far. So yeah, I know this is like an uncommon pick, but I really do love this movie.
So I was really first 10 minutes of this movie, I was like, okay, this is like a really interesting concept. I'm into this. Like, I knew the film was violent. I was ready for that. And then it's just Bambi with a little bit of extra gore. Like, this film is really... the thing that I'd heard about this movie is that it was, like, very dark. I found this movie just kind of boring, to be honest. Like, the gore is, like, shocking, but then once the gore fades, like, I don't care about these characters. John Hurt's good, but I don't he doesn't have a personality. Like, I don't think any of these characters are all that interesting. The only one I liked was Fiverr. I liked Fiverr. Fiverr is a good.
That was great. I like Bigwig. You know, him being like big and impulsive and having to get over that.
I did not care about Bigwig. Fiverr was the only one who made any sense.
Just Fiverr.
Fiverr. Hashtag justice for Fiverr. Let's get that trending. But no, this film's not great. It's not bad. It is absolutely fine, but take out the gore and all the crap people give the Bambi, people would give this movie. Like, it's very much atmosphere, and I don't think it has, like, it looks much drearier, and that's the point, but, like, I don't like the animation as much, which is, like, the main thing that I like about Bambi. So I find this movie pretty boring. Yeah. Anyone else here seen Watership Down?
Yeah, I feel like just Bambi with gore and just a bunch of rabbits are two ways I would not use to describe this movie. But you guys just did it, I guess.
Is that what I said? I mean, that.
I saw this movie when I was a kid, and honestly, like, I just think it was like pretty dark to watch as like a 12-year-old. I honestly have not watched it since then, so I have no idea how it's really like. I remember it just like being kind of interesting, but I couldn't really tell you anything super specific.
Don't correct me then on how I want to describe the movie I watched.
It's not the worst John Hurt 1978 animated film. I'll say that. But you know, it's all right.
Accurate.
It's all right.
I also have seen this movie, and I actually love this movie. Boatman can vouch that this was very close to making my top 40 because I sent him a picture of 43, 44, something.
You're lucky.
Yeah, and it was there. I actually really love the concept of watching the lives of the wild rabbits from their point of view, and how some things that you may think are like everyday things or cute things that happen in the forest are horrifying in their eyes. Honestly, I have been wanting to rewatch this. I know they made a mini series for Netflix, but
which I did watch. I watched that as well.
Yeah, is it good?
I think the CGI animation detracts from a lot of what I like about the original. But
did anyone have it on their list? I don't think so. Let's get back to the 78 version.
Damn. Okay, fine. Cracking the whip. Yes, Master. Let's go. Fine.
Okay. That's what you get for getting a color pen.
I'm uncomfortable.
Anyway, I have not seen it. I've read the book, and the book was fucking awesome. And from hearing Chance talk about it, it sounds like it's a pretty faithful adaptation. I will definitely check it out sometime soon.
It's on HBO Max, I think. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking it out.
Oh yeah, maybe tonight.
Okay. Mark, save me. 47.
Oof, I don't know if I'll do that, but let's see.
What are you, Amy Mann? Sorry, go ahead.
Oof, I cannot wait to see the reaction on this. My 37 is The Cat Returns.
Jesus. God damn.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, whenever I watched like all the Ghibli movies somewhat recently, I gravitated to some of the weirder fucking Ghibli movies, and I don't know, man. There's something about this fucking movie I just come to really enjoy. Like, and I think probably the thing I like about it most is that it takes what was fairly like a somewhat regular kind of concept in a movie that I'm pretty sure we brought up later, and just turn it just really and just like the craziest concept ever, that this glass figurine of a cat comes to life and he helps solve mysteries, and there's this cat kingdom, and this chick is being chased around by all these they're giving her like catnip and like fucking like lacrosse sticks. I mean, like, it's the weirdest fucking movie ever. And I kind of love it because it's just the weirdest fucking movie ever. And I think, people talk about Ghibli a lot just because, like, they're really creative. And like, The Cat Returns, I think, in a lot of ways, is, like, one of Ghibli's more creative movies. Just because that movie just goes, like, is just balls to the wall insanity.
So, I was familiar with this movie, and I had been wanting to watch it. I had heard different things from different people. Cameron Holtzman, I know, loves this movie. He is a giant fan of this movie. This is, like, I think in his top 5 Ghibli, maybe top 10. I don't know. But I also know people hate this movie, like Cody Newberry, but also Cody was never going to like a movie. Like, Cody, I don't think, like, Spirited Away. So, like, we'll discount his opinion here. Sorry, Cody. I don't care. But this was thoroughly okay. Was it bad? No. It was perfectly average. There was nothing that I found spectacular at all. I think the voice cast is all fine. Anne Hathaway's doing a decent job. Carrie Elways is basically just playing Wesley, but a cat. You've got Tim Curry, I will say, is probably the most entertaining thing about this movie, as the cat can, even though he's barely in it. This film just goes in a lot of weird directions, but it's not like there are some Ghibli movies that do weird things. Like Ponyo is a movie that a lot of people hate, and is Ponyo amazing? No. Is Ponyo at the very least visually interesting and really creative? Absolutely. I don't get that with The Cat Returns. This movie looks fine. It never goes fully crazy. It always kind of exists in this middle realm. It's not bad, but it is not fantastic. 37's a bit high. I don't think this really belongs on the top 40.
Thank you.
So yeah, everyone else, thoughts on The Cat Returns?
I've seen either this or Whisper of the Heart. I can't remember which is which.
Oh my god.
Something
I'm surprised you would fucking know.
Okay.
Paid for movie trivia?
I do, but you don't ask about the stuff like this, and also I just haven't revisited Ghibli in a while.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak about this movie. This is like my second least favorite Studio Ghibli movie. I agree with Boatman. It's not bad. It's just so mid. I also like the idea of this is like one of the most creative Ghibli movies is like an insane statement to me. Like I don't know where that even comes from. Also, Boatman outing himself as a dub classless hooligan who only watches the dubs.
They're the ones on
I'm just
HBO
kidding.
Max.
They also have the originals.
They have the sub. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
I didn't know that, but also I like the dub. I mean, they have Anne Hathaway. And...
Loud noises!
Are you telling me you're too good for Wesley Crusher?
In some ways.
I'm
yes, for Wesley Crusher, maybe. But no, I mean, this movie's like okay. It's like kind of charming. I think it's like a very like 6 out of 10. It's a gentleman's 6, I think, if nothing else. Yeah, there's just way better Ghibli movies and other movies out there, I think. So yeah, that's it.
I've also seen this movie. It's better than Cats. But it's like Paul said. It was.
I will say I don't get Cody's whole thing about this is like a horror movie. Like I can't imagine being like offended and horrified by this. It's just like
it's because I think it's because he's allergic to cats.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Chance, did you already? Yes, you already did talk about this.
I did talk about this. Yes.
Okay. I just had a breakdown there. Mark, or sorry, you already talked, right? Everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
I said.
You really are having a breakdown here.
All right. Quick thing, Paul. You're saying this is your second least favorite Ghibli movie. I'd like to remind you that Goro Miyazaki has made 3 Ghibli movies. So
yeah, From Up on Poppy Hill fucking rips. What are you talking about?
No, we'll get to that.
What's your least favorite? Is it Ponyo?
No. Anyway, we're not going to get into the whole thing.
No,
we're not going to get into the whole thing.
Slander is allowed.
The thing about Ponyo is Ponyo loves ham. People forget that. But sorry, Mark, go to your 36.
She's a character in the movie.
I'd be surprised if I'm talking about this now. My 36 is How to Train Your Dragon.
Yikes, but for this one.
Okay.
Later.
Well, I think for Nazario, it's later.
Okay, for later. Okay.
And my number 35 is Chicken Run.
Yikes, for later.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Jesus.
All right. Let's see if this one gets
You're
nice.
ruining my list, guys.
My 34 is the Simpsons movie. Yeah, I kind of figured. Yeah, man. Start off by saying, like, I fucking love The Simpsons. The Simpsons is like my favorite show ever. Like, I grew up on it as a kid. Me and my brothers live on Simpsons quotes. It's the only way we know how to speak. And honestly, when this movie first came out, I honestly didn't really like it the first time, and it's honestly just kind of grown on me more and more, like, as I get older. And it's one that I think, kind of going back, it kind of in a time when I think The Simpsons is very much lost its sting and kind of a lot of its luster. Like, this one feels like a return to form in a lot of ways. It just kind of feels like kind of old 90s classic Simpsons in a lot of respects, especially I think with the way they handle Homer as a character. Because when Simpsons was really at its best, they treated him kind of as like, yeah, he's kind of a drunk. Yeah, he's very irresponsible. Like, yeah, he could be very selfish at times. But, you know, whenever it came to like his family, like, he would go to the fucking ends of the earth to make it okay. And it's what I think makes him like such an interesting and cool character to watch. And aside from that, you know, he's just fucking hilarious. I mean, but yeah, the Simpsons movie is one that's kind of grown on me. And I suspect, like, as I get older, maybe jumps a little bit. Not only for my love of the Simpsons in general, but just because I think this movie just kind of shines a light on what is already just a bright legacy.
I am also a fan of The Simpsons. I did not, when I was growing up, I did not watch The Simpsons because that was the lesser Simpsons. But when I was like 13, 14, I got like all the season 4, season 5, season 6, season 7, season 8, and then later season 3, and just watched through all of those. And I love The Simpsons. And Simpsons movie is very much a return to form to those Simpsons. It has a lot of really funny moments. I think one of my favorite jokes, maybe my favorite joke in that movie, is Green Day performing, okay, we've been playing for 3 hours and now we want to take a minute to say something about the environment. And they all just go, preachy. Amazing. I think the film gets very clever at points. It still has a few jokes that feel a little bit more like New Simpsons, not quite as classic. Like Spider Pig got old fast, but overall this film's real fun. And you know, we can't go this long without me mentioning. I gotta mention your villain of the movie, Albert Brooks. He's in it. I wish they would have done what they were originally going to do and get Hank Scorpio.
Yeah, make Hank Scorpio.
That would have been fucking awesome.
That would have been better, but I don't care. Albert Brooks is Albert Brooks.
If fucking Hank Scorpion was the villain, this movie would be a lot fucking higher. We wouldn't be talking about this now.
Absolutely. That is fair. Shout out to Stephen King for ripping off this movie. But everyone else, thoughts on the Simpsons movie?
Hey, we got one good season of television out of that.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. Okay, now Brian can talk about that. So, Paul, you can go first, buddy.
Yeah, so I actually like broke the DVD when this first came out because I watched it so many times, like consecutively over and over again. I was like obsessed with this movie, and I think I burnt myself out on it for a couple of years, where I was like, I could quote the entire movie line for line, and I was like, this is just too much. But I've come back to it recently, and I do really like this movie a lot. It was honestly pretty close to making my list. A lot of the bits, I mean, some of the bits are so dumb, but like when he puts the like bug zapper in the lake to like catch the fish, like that's like just fucking cracks me up. It's like it's stupid shit like that. The I'm a wiener joke at the end, which is so dumb, but like I just like laugh every time. The Tom Hanks cameo is also amazing. Yeah, I think it's a hilarious movie. It just like missed my list a little bit. I think I might have underserved comedy a little bit when making this list. I kind of wish I would have put a couple more comedic movies in there. But this is a great pick by Mark, and yeah, totally endorse it. It's the fucking best.
I kind of wish I saw the movie you guys watch, because I've been a big Simpsons fan. So I watched since 1989. Like I watched seasons as they came out, and at some point in the early 2000s, I was like, yeah, this is not working, but I want to keep watching, because you got to be loyal. I also thought, how long can this shit go on for?
That's some real sunk cost fallacy.
Apparently forever.
The movie didn't work for me. Honestly, it did do a homework a little better than other things, but I think they kind of bumbled in the idea of March finally deciding, like, you know what, this is enough. But then, like, taking it back a couple of minutes later, that weakened the overall movie for me. And at the end of season 30, I finally quit. So I haven't seen it for 2 years. Good stuff.
Well, thank you for coming to Simpsons Anonymous. We appreciate it.
I was an addict for 30 years. But yeah, no, I've seen it too. That's my first major encounter with Simpsons. I don't know what it was. I didn't watch the show. But for some reason, I was just like very compelled. Like, I want to see the Simpsons movie in theaters. So like, my aunt took me, a bunch of our cousins, we all went. It was funny, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if that's me being a novice to the whole concept, but I really enjoyed it. Even watching it later, yeah, I think it's still funny. I think it holds up. One of my favorite bits of this movie is the epiphany scene, where it's like, okay, I gotta come to a great realization. Bananas are full of potassium. Smack. Americans never embrace soccer. Smack. I don't know why. I just see it cracks me up every time. But no, yeah. If this was like top like 50 to 60, it might have made my list. But I don't hate it. I think it's really good.
Mm-hmm. One of the best jokes is the town just kind of turning into Mad Max. But yeah. It was a good pick. Now I believe that was
Nazario. Nazario's 37. Yeah.
Nazario.
Was that your 30?
Yeah, that was 34.
Yikes, my other two, man.
Okay. My 37 is the Prince of Egypt.
No.
Okay. This is I grew up Catholic. Like most people in Latin America, that's what you're taught when you grow up. And part of that is also watching a lot of religious movies. And I had, at this point in my life, watched Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments several times.
Oh my god, it's like 4.5 hours.
I mean, it was
that should constitute child abuse.
Yes, there was others in heavy rotation. But honestly, it wasn't until this version that I actually finally got like what the message of the thing is, because people tend to focus on the wrong thing. People tend to focus on the plagues, because it's the visually more appealing part of the story, I guess. But since they decided to do the most effective thing with that is just make it one song, show the plagues, move on, they could actually develop a little more detail on the history around it. And honestly, I believe to this day that this is probably the best version of the Moses story shown in film. That is my opinion. And
Nacho Libre, don't at me.
What's that?
Nacho Libre. I'm just kidding.
Honestly,
y'all are disrespecting Exodus gods and kings over here.
I honestly believe that was since that was like the second movie made by DreamWorks Animation. I was like, okay, these people have something. Let's go. But yeah, that was quickly convinced otherwise. Yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, Prince of Egypt. This was one of those ones that I'm also from Christian background, so when they didn't have anything for Sunday school, put this one on. It's either we've shown them VeggieTales 20 times, so this one. So that's kind of what I associated this movie with. But then I revisited it about a year or so now, and film's fantastic. Film just looks beautiful. The opening "Deliver Us" number is incredible, really haunting, both in visuals and in music. I think that's the best song from the movie, not the one that actually won the Oscar. When you believe, "Deliver Us" is fantastic, and I think this movie really gets right the dynamic between Moses and Ramses, because I think that's like one of the, for this type of story, that's like the most important thing, and they get it exactly right here. They make Ramses a really compelling villain, and his dynamic with Moses. I think Kilmer's a fantastic mode for this, and Fiennes is great, and I love the whole cast.
Actually, the only song I would skip is the Martin Short and Steve Martin numbers.
See, a lot of people like that one. I don't mind it. I like playing with the big boys. I think it's fine.
Within the movie, I don't mind it, but honestly, I would never like to do it on its own.
Yes, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But yeah, this film is great. Everyone else, why? Why do you hate this movie?
You know, it's funny. Actually, I saw like someone talking about the plays on Twitter, so like I'm like, it got me stuck in my head. So I'm like, okay, I gotta watch this. And yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. Like there are several things they do in the movie that I actually do like find quite interesting. Like I never noticed that all like the noble people in Egypt all voiced by Brits, and all the regular like the Jewish people are all voiced by Americans. They all have like no accents. I thought that was interesting. So at some point, some of the voices are a little distracting coming out of these faces. Like, yeah, that don't match. Sorry, Jeff Golden. You're a little too much for this movie, but. It's honestly a matter of like the things I like more than this movie. Zimmer score is great. Yeah, it's just a matter of things I like more. And also, we're forgetting the superior Ten Commandments movie, the Christian Slater one that came out in 2007.
Oh my God, Jesus.
Yeah, but not as good as Bambi with gore. Okay.
Yeah, so honestly, I was just really late to this movie, and like by the time I saw this movie, I think I saw it for the first time like 2 years ago. I was already like just very familiar with the Book of Exodus and all that stuff, so I think it was just a bit familiar. And I think the music's pretty good, but I think overall the movie just never really wowed me, and it always felt like as soon as it was getting to like a really interesting idea, it would sort of pivot away from it, I think. So I don't know. I think just in general, like it's a movie that I think is pretty solid, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone for having it. But just for me, it's never. I don't think ever really going to be a big favorite of mine.
I am Mexican, so I'm contractually obligated to be Catholic. That being said, I did not watch this movie until a couple of years ago, and I kind of agree with Paul. Like the story is just really familiar, and I know the story between.
And it's like the point, but like there's not much to it. I mean,
like, did your parents make you watch the Ten Commandments when you were a kid?
No, because they weren't mean to me.
Which one? Zara, there's two versions.
The color remake.
I'll hate all adaptations of Christmas Carol. So familiar.
Yes.
My parents would not. My parents, my grandparents were not. They didn't make me sit through.
Listen, if this was with Muppets, Bowman, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Book of Exodus with Muppets, and we'll talk.
I would Mark, did you have more to say? I feel like we kind of.
Not really. Like
okay,
Paul really hit on head.
That's fair. So we'll get over to Nazario's 36.
My number 36 is Disney's Tangled. Okay. I feel this movie is really underrated. For some reason, it got kind of lost in the mix. It's what I consider to be the start of the new era of Disney. When they finally decided to embrace the CG and actually put an effort. Yeah, I know. To make an effort with it. It's super underrated. The music is beautiful in this one. I still love the song when she puts up the light in the flying lights from the lake with Zachary Levi. It's funny. It's touching. The Mother Gothel character, it's very also underrated. She's definitely the villain of the piece. And yet, even though she did something very cruel and very selfish, it's not like she didn't care for Rapunzel. I do not like that they changed the name. Originally, it was going to be Rapunzel, but because DreamWorks was doing DreamWorks stuff and taking people away, they decided to make it cooler, change the name, and make one of those posters with the eyebrow eyes when they're tangling the hair. And it was just like, okay. I was very glad when I saw the movie, and it wasn't that. But I do think this is like at the beginning of the second Renaissance, because if you see the streak of movies they started making, starting with Tangled, then they did Frozen, and nobody remembers Rapunzel. They thought like, okay, so Frozen.
She was even in Frozen, and they don't remember.
Yeah, she was there.
Amazing. No, but I think they kicked it up with this, and then they picked up with Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia. They just kept going, and they have been on a good streak so far. But yeah, for some reason, Tangled always I feel like gets lost in the mix, and I think in its credit because it was what brought it back for me. Even more than, the Princess and the Frog that was before.
Yeah. Tangled's great. So you all are going to have some splaining to do. But Tangled is fantastic. I'll admit, when I first saw, I saw Tangled at like exactly the right age. I was 10 when the movie came out. I first saw it, I loved it. And then I kind of fell off it and thought it was meh. And then I revisited it recently. Film's just fantastic. Maybe the best Disney couple, like Disney animated, I would say. There's competition, but I think in terms of both of them being a great list. Excellent, I think at the very least the most like we're both.
Well, Oliver and company are both a pretty great couple.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's definitely the best Disney horse.
But yeah, the Flynn Rider and Rapunzel are just fantastic characters. There are a lot of great scenes. There's a lot of fun comedy with this. Maximus is one of the most underrated side characters in the history of Disney. The way they creatively use him animation style is great. Like how you do physical comedy with a horse. That seems like big and clunky, but they find a way to really make it funny. The slapstick in the film is great, but the actual story is really interesting and a really fascinating take on the Rapunzel tale. Mother Gothel's a great villain. Mother Knows Best is an underrated villain song. Whole soundtrack's great. I See the Light. Fantastic. That whole sequence just looks beautiful. So yeah, I want to start with Mark. Mark, if this were based on a TV show, would you like it more?
You started with me. I mean,
because I had that one liner to start with.
Okay, but I saw this movie a while ago, probably back in like 2014. After I heard people talk about it a bunch, I watched it and I really liked it, and I haven't gone back and seen it since. It's just one of those that I just kind of liked, and it just didn't quite stick with me. And I've been meaning to rewatch it, but just don't have much of a desire to. It's just kind of
Cat Returns really screams out to you. Okay,
Transformers the movie, Boatman. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. The Transformers.
If in Tangle she starts turning into a fucking cat, you can put it on my fucking DVR.
I need to call Thomas Scully real quick.
Mirai, literally, the character does turn into a cat. That's the funny part.
Paul, Chance.
I mean, it's kind of wild. I think this is still the most expensive animated movie ever made, just because of partly how long it took, and also just how much detail they went into with the CGI. I really like this movie a lot. I think part of it is just I don't have a big attachment to it. I only saw this one like 3 or 4 years ago, I think, for the first time, so it doesn't have that personal level. But I think it definitely is one of the more elite modern sort of Disney princess movie. I mean, this is probably one of the best Disney princess movies, period, I would say. I don't love the middle half. I think the beginning and the end is super strong, but I don't love the kind of fun and games portion as much as the rest of it. So it just barely missed for me. Like this, I made a list for the show. I put like 120 movies on it. This definitely is in the top half, but there's a lot of fucking animated movies I really love. So it's a hard list.
3 or 4 years ago, it's not like you had any movies from 2020 on your list. Oh, Chance.
No, yeah, I mean this is a great movie. I know Qualm Tangled. I think just for me, I wanted to highlight some other stuff that I really like a lot. Trust me, I will be giving my lip service to Disney. I will be getting enough lip service to Disney and Pixar in this series that I could afford to leave a few off, because I just no, not doing this. You're gonna put out some different stuff. So
Fair enough.
Tangled, great film, great pick. I think this is a great spot for it.
Fair enough. You're 35.
My 35 is back to the scary movies for kids. I'm putting Laika's Paranorman.
Yeah, for later.
Okay. And 34, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
34 is Rango.
That is a yikes, ladies and gentlemen.
Tough cut.
Okay.
All right, I guess it's to me then.
Now we're going to go for the 33s all around. So, Paul, you're 33.
I went with a really kind of, a lot of these are very underseen, so I went with another sort of indie hit that from a studio that had not really proven themselves at the time. My number 33 is Toy Story.
Yikes.
Yikes. Big fucking yikes.
It's accurate for the time.
Okay, Chance, give us your 33. It's better than Tangled and a bunch of other movies.
Not better.
I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Not better, just different one I wanted to highlight. My number 33 is The Yellow Submarine.
Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead,
There's just a place of me being both a massive Beatles fan and just like weird, like crazy, nonsensical animated movie. I think in terms of like weird nonsense, this does it better than I think any other animated movie I've ever seen. It's just essentially in this movie, if you haven't seen it, it takes place in a world called Pepperland, and these evil blue meanies are coming in. They're zapping away all the music, turning all people to stone, and the one survivor has to go get the Beatles to come save the day. This movie's fucking bizarre. It's crazy. A lot of it doesn't make sense. It's filled with tons of Beatles songs, which a Beatles fan like myself, I really loved. I liked it a lot for the longest time. One night, I fired up one of Bob Marley's paper flutes, and I watched him. This is the fucking greatest movie I've ever made. So yeah, this is a movie that is essentially, yes, it is crafted for drug use. But I think that it stands the test of time on its own. I think the animation is interesting. I love the style of it, and yeah, it's a movie that it's very much crafted for someone like me. So I get it doesn't jive with anybody. I wish Cody was here because I would have loved to make him watch this movie, but hey, what are you gonna do? I'm sure Bubba's gonna give me a good ribbon for this one.
Okay, Yellow Submarine. I like the Beatles. I'll start off that. I love the Beatles.
Hot take artist. Yeah. Take it easy.
Abbey Road is Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper, and I love Help. Help is actually my album. Yellow Submarine sucks. This from the first 5 minutes of this movie. The second these blue meanies little bitches show up, the second these guys show up, it's some of the most annoying voice acting I've ever heard in a movie. And I've seen 8 Crazy Nights.
Whoa.
What? The basketball coach guy.
He's the best. I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's a different conversation. But the Blue Meanies, it's some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard. And then you get into the actual movie, which it's barely a movie. It's just a bunch of animated sequences happening to Beatles songs, most of which weren't even made for the movie. So it's basically just an awful jukebox musical. And if I wanted to watch an awful jukebox musical with Beatles songs, I'd watch Across the Universe.
You could watch Yesterday instead. But okay.
I haven't seen Across the Universe.
Yesterday is very bad.
Yesterday is worse. Yesterday is way worse.
Yeah. This and the animation isn't I get it, the time, but the animation isn't even that good. Compared, look at what Disney's doing at the time.
I do want the Boatman high watch along to this.
No. But yeah, this film quite bad. Did not have a good time whatsoever.
I disagree, but okay.
You disagree that I had a good time?
I disagree. You did this movie incorrectly for you, because
Okay, I know
someone would definitely need to toke up
that I would have a panic attack on me.
That's fine. I get it. Again, not for everybody, but I really love this movie a lot.
Anyway, Paul.
So this is another movie that I just watched when I was a kid because my family loves the Beatles. It was pretty wild. I do think this is one of the most un-Boatman animated movies ever because it is definitely made, I think, for the high experience, in large part. And I think that would probably change how you feel about the movie. Maybe not about the Blue Meanies.
I
just remember
to enjoy a movie. Wow, yeah, that must mean it's incredible.
I just remember fragments of this movie, and I just remember it being pretty wild. But again, this is another one that I just saw as a kid and haven't really had a reason to rewatch. I like the Beatles. I'm not a huge fan, the same way I think a lot of people are. But you know, I think it's an interesting and bold, and I definitely respect a pick like this because it is like wild.
Yeah. I love this movie. Don't know what to say, man.
I
Mark, really do love it.
Have you seen this film?
I watched this movie when I was in my 20s. I still love the Beatles. This movie is fine. It's definitely something you enjoy more if you're high.
Yeah,
probably makes sense.
If you want a better Beatles movie, Robert Zemeckis got your back, guys. That's all I'm saying. If you want a better Beatles movie.
Still, though, it has the blue meanings.
The worst thing in this movie, but there. Mark, you see this?
I haven't had enough acid on hand to probably properly enjoy it. So
mushrooms work too. We don't discriminate.
Okay, keep that in mind.
Okay.
I do have a yellow submarine Lego set somewhere.
Of course you do.
They had that Lego set, which I want to buy. I'm looking around for it.
It's great.
Mark, you got something better?
Oh, we'll give it a shot. You know, I mentioned my weird ass Ghibli takes. My 33 is The Secret World of Arrietty.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of similar thing here. Like I was kind of, when I was burning through them, you know, I kind of came across this one. I got to be honest, when I kind of looked at the description and kind of the plot synopsis, I didn't really expect to be kind of taken with this movie, and I don't know, I kind of was. Like there was just something about the world that, you know, of these tiny people that are living in houses and they're kind of living off, you know, the just regular humans, just kind of taking things that, like, what they need to survive that, you know, we aren't going to notice. And how I think what kind of works really well here is, I think, kind of what I think several people brought up about A Watership Down in kind of this movie with this one, how little things kind of have become kind of these really deadly things, like these little people, and I found that aspect really interesting. I found the relationship between, you know, the main character and the boy, like, who's dying from a heart condition, like, really touching and really nice. And I think on top of that, after going back to it, like, this movie, I think, very understatedly just has one of the most evil people of any animated movie like I've ever seen, with this fucking horrible maid who, like, just wants to, like, expose that these little people exist and then murder them. Like, I guess, I don't know what the reason why. She's just kind of fucking doing it. Like, she's like the female version of Arthur Fleck. Like, I don't get it. She's like just one snap away from just turning on, like, on these, like, little people in all these houses.
So my association with this movie, I never saw it in theaters, but the commercials and trailers played on Disney Channel like 24/7, and they were marketing all out that this movie had Bridget Mendler and David Henry in it. So, like, I never actually saw it at the time.
And Moises Arias too.
And Moises Arias, that's right.
Yeah.
Reason for that, yeah.
Then I watched it, and I just got flashbacks to a film that I saw when I was much younger, the John Goodman film, The Borrowers, which I had completely erased from my memory because it's the same story, just completely different style and location, but same basic story. But this movie was really nice. This was a nice, sweet little movie. And the way that you're absolutely right, like, they really do all that they can with the being at that size angle. I think they take a lot of really creative angles with it. That maid is a bitch. And I think the one thing I didn't love is I didn't love the character of the kid with the heart condition. I thought I don't know if it was the voice acting or what it was, but something just, I didn't really care about him, but I loved it. Mendler as Arrietty. Thought Arrietty was a really engaging character. But yeah, overall solid film. 33 is about the right spot for this. Everyone else on The Secret World of Arrietty.
This is one of the two Ghiblis I haven't seen. Honestly, it just never really interested me that much. Like, I will watch it eventually because obviously I will. But just for whatever reason, never grab. I mean, it's the trailer is on every goddamn Ghibli Blu-ray. Like, I swear it's always the trailer in front of their other movies because they're like, guys, somebody has to watch this. We made it, right? Like, someone's gonna watch it. But no, it seems kind of. It reminds me. I don't know if anybody read this series of books called Fablehaven as a kid, but it definitely reminded me a lot of some of the stuff in those books. But anyway, yeah, I just haven't seen
shit. Mark this day. I've seen a Ghibli movie that Paul hasn't. So yeah, this is one I have seen. I did see it in theater in 2010. That was a school field trip to watch it. Haven't seen it since, but I remember really enjoying it. And I did get the flashbacks of the Borrowers movie with John Goodman. Then I realized, oh, they're both adapted from the same book, so makes sense. But yeah, I remember enjoying it. But I haven't seen it since 2010. Say again?
There's a character called Arrietty in the John Goodman movie.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Nazario?
It's better than the John Goodman movie. I like the John Goodman movie too. And yeah, it's very interesting that the comparison to Watership Down, because he mentioned that like changing the point of view of things really changes what things mean, and it's true. I remember I was watching I watched this movie kind of by accident because it was during a period of my life that I was trying like focusing on the Miyazaki ones, and I saw this one without knowing it was from a different director. But I kind of appreciate that I did because I really like it. It's a simple story. It's not grand in the scheme of things, but the relationship that is formed between Arrietty, the Borrowers, and the kid in the house is actually pretty sweet. I really like this movie. I don't love it, but I enjoy it very much.
Yeah,
I do want to say, looking it up, I really want to find the UK dub of this movie. Because that featured Saoirse Ronan, Tom Holland, Olivia Colman, and Mark Strong.
That's actually pretty awesome. But yeah, so that was March 33. So we're going to Nazario for your 33.
My number 33 is Pixar's Inside Out.
Yikes!
Yikes! Big fucking yikes! Yeah.
Okay.
Paul?
I actually don't think this will be yikes, and that will be a shame. I'm ready to defend this movie. I know at least one panelist will have some takes. My number 32 is Hercules. This has always been one of my favorite Disney movies. I really love especially the two main characters. I think Meg especially is one of my favorite Disney characters. I think she's really fascinating. The way they set up her past relationships and how that's made her this jaded, cynical person, and the way that Herc comes into her life. And he doesn't fit in his own life, right? Like he when he's with his adopted parents, he's really clumsy and he doesn't really fit into the normal human world. And I think like him finding his place is this really beautiful moment. I think I Won't Say I'm in Love is like one of my favorite Disney songs, bar none. I think that song is absolutely fucking incredible. I think the side characters too are like really funny and engaging. I think this movie just has all the little pieces. I love Pegasus so much, like, but especially Meg and Herc. I think Herc is a character that I think some people sort of don't appreciate as much as I think maybe they should. Because I think as much as he's born the son of a god, right, he still is an outsider and he's a social outcast, and he's trying to find where he finds meaning in life. And I think some of the like modern references when he gets all the sports sponsorship deals are really funny to me personally, especially. This has always been one of my favorite Disney movies. I think it's really funny and heartfelt, and it just has so many different levels. I don't think the animation is like amazing, but Hercules is a movie I definitely love a lot, and is my personal favorite of their pairing as directors. So yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. Wait. What did you just say?
Yeah.
What? No. What did you just say?
It's my favorite. It's my favorite movie they directed together. I think I like it more than more than 100%. 100%.
Okay.
Okay. So we know all the things that are not on your list.
Yeah.
Okay.
That shouldn't be surprising to anybody if they know.
Still, that's a bit of a yikes. Anyway, Hercules was a movie for the longest time I thought was very overrated. For the longest time, kind of did not like Hercules. And on most recent rewatch, I really went in with an open mind as much as I could. And yeah, I think there are aspects of this movie that very much did not resonate with me. That I think it was to the point that I was kind of unfair to this movie because I related to the Herc at the beginning of the movie, not the Herc at the middle and end of the movie as a kid. So I think that's why for the longest time, I was very unfair to this movie. But now I actually really like it. I think Hades is one of the funniest Disney villains. Maybe the funniest Disney villain. Come on, we kiss, we smooth, we go home. Come on. Come on, he's a guy. That's great. Meg is one of the best Disney characters. I love Meg. Because she just has such her complex relationship with like her past and why that kind of it does prevent her from wanting to fall in love again, and how she is kind of protecting her heart and protecting herself, I think is really interesting and fascinating, and her dynamic with Hades is really great. Side characters are all very fun. The animation style is very different, and it also takes a little bit to get used to, but I really like it now. And the songs, I like just about all of them except for A Star Is Born. I think that ending song's not great. I like just about everything else. Everyone else, thoughts on Hercules?
And I'll go first because I think that whole dig on that, like someone who has tanks, that was targeted at me. I'm not super huge in this film. I think it's okay. The only thing like I really do love about this film is for some reason I love Go the Distance. Like that song's an absolute earworm.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah, and Hades. I think Hades is like genuinely funny. But yeah, ultimately I find Hercules just boring. He's there. Like we've seen this do a million times. Same thing with Meg. Like ultimately just a couple lines and a sneer. I think the coming with the animation style, like the animator who did this was it's Scarfe. He's the same guy who did Pink Floyd's The Wall, and I love his work. I don't think it's really put to good use here. I think he's kind of like hamstrung by Disney. I don't think he's a good fit for this film. But yeah, no, this movie I think I don't think it's awful. I just think it's fine.
Also, the Paul Schaefer stuff. The fact that they had Paul Schaefer basically playing himself as Hermes is fucking hilarious, and only could happen in 1997. No other time in history could happen.
No other year. No other year.
You see, that probably would have been very funny if I actually had an association with who Paul Schaefer was. I know the name.
He's the guy on Letterman.
Yeah, I was not. I did not grow up on Letterman. Obviously,
he's definitely a Jay Leno guy. This movie.
I mean, I know who Letterman is. I just never watched.
I still feel this movie is super overrated. I don't know. There's like a generational gap thing where everybody seems to like love this movie for some reason. Is Megara an underrated female character in Disneyverse? Yes, she is. Is James Wood one of the best villains? Yes, he definitely is. Hades is amazing.
And in real life.
The story itself, though, it just doesn't work for me. I have mentioned this before and getting some shit for it, but I don't care. I do not think the movie justified itself in changing the origin of Hercules. Like, I don't mind if you're going to change the Greek mythology if you make a movie that's so good that it covers it up. But one of the most intriguing parts for me with Hercules is that he's half man, half god. They just decided that it was too not PG enough to have Zeus be in love with a human woman or just, have sex with her. Instead, they decided that he's the son of the gods who drank all the poison except for the one drop, and that made him part human. I don't like it. It took me out from the movie from the get-go, and it just never got me back. Favorite joke, though, is when they release the Titans, and they're like, Zeus walking in one direction, and Hades is like, hey, Olympus is that way. Best joke of the movie.
Yeah, that was funny.
Is that the best joke in the movie? I don't know about that, but...
I like this movie. I honestly do like this movie quite a bit. It was a tougher cut than I thought it would be. I don't know if I agree with Nazari. It's just, I do find it funny. Like, this movie just kind of came out in a period where people just kind of stopped giving a shit about Disney for whatever reason after they had kind of a hot streak. But no,
Hunchback kind of killed it, I think, in terms of
Hunchback didn't help.
I mean, Mulan and Tarzan are both like big hits. I don't know what you guys talking about.
That's true.
I mean, but yeah, I do it. Yeah, it was a tough cut.
Thanks for calling.
Okay, so now we get to the 31s. Paul?
No, we're
that
was my 32. That was my 32.
We're still 32. Chance.
It doesn't matter. I think my 32 is still EX related. It's how to train your dragon.
Yeah, it's all right.
Nazario, is that EX for you or no?
Which one?
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
Yeah, on a later episode, right?
It wasn't that 33 for somebody?
Yeah, but Chance just had it, so yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's EX for later. Mark, or yeah, still, yeah.
No, Mark's 32.
32 Mark.
Okay, I'd be shocked if we're talking about this now. Beauty and the Beast.
Actually, yes, that is my next pick.
Yikes.
Okay, that's weird.
And Mario, you're 32.
Right. My 32. Tim Burton, everybody. Frankenweenie.
Oh, okay.
This movie, the first time I saw it, I actually was kind of disappointed, which is surprising. It had all the elements I wanted. It was a gothic film by Tim Burton, who made finally an animated movie all by himself. He kind of got a co-director when he tried to direct in 2005, and he didn't even direct at all. He was busy doing Batman when the 93 one came out. But this one is all him. It's also a remake of a short film he did for Disney in the 80s, which is kind of what at the beginning kind of ruined it a bit for me, because I loved that short film. I grew up on it, and that was like 35 minutes. This movie, it's a feature length, so he obviously had to add stuff to it. I just, on my original watch, I felt like the stuff he added wasn't worth the extra time. I love the models, I love the art, I loved everything, but that extra time didn't feel justified. When I rewatched it later, I realized I was wrong, because those are the elements that actually reach out to more people. Like those are the little extra characters, the extra animals that he brings to the story to make it more like a compelling school kids adventure is what gets people like my kid to be interested in and make it work. I love the fact that he did it in black and white, because I'm sure that was not an easy sell on Disney in 2011 to make a kids movie in black and white. The design of Spark is beautiful. He basically looks like the animated version of the dog from the short, and it's just lovely. I love all the classic monster in jokes that he drops in the middle of the movie, like Penelope, which is the dog that becomes kind of like Sparky's little girl. How she gets the streaks on her hair is kind of brilliant. I love that he brought back Winona Ryder. Martin Landau as the teacher has the scene that steals it for me, which is when he goes to the meeting at the school trying to defend what he was doing with science and calls everybody a dumbass. It's kind of insanely brilliant. And the final part, which I didn't like that much at the beginning, ended up being one of my favorite things, when they do the resurrection of the pets and they are all callbacks to all scary movies. It's like, you know what? You got me. Fucking got me. It's probably the best animated movie he directed, and I think it's a great movie.
No, yeah, like I like the first hour of this movie, but the movie gets great when you get into all the classic monster callbacks. This movie's super fun. It's very. I can see why it didn't do super well at the time. I don't think, just because it's a stop motion homage to classic monster movies, and that isn't necessarily going to sell, but I love it. It is a love letter to the Universal era of monster movies, and it's super fun. It's got the Tim Burton Halloween creepiness, but I really like just the character of Victor, and they make Sparky super likable. And yeah, there's a lot of great visual jokes that come in the end there with the giant monsters, and Landau is super fun too. So yeah, I really like Frankenweenie. This is top tier Tim Burton for me. I really enjoy this one. I will say it is not the best Halloween themed stop motion animated movie of 2012.
I agree.
I'll just get this out of the way quick. This is one of the 2 Tim Burton movies I've never seen, which is why I took my headphones off during a lot of the discussion. I kind of want to watch it fresh. I'm excited to watch it. I know a lot of people. I know Zach especially loves this movie a lot, as well as Nazario. So I do want to see it at some point. Just for whatever reason, I missed it back in 2012 and just have not gotten around to it really. I probably should have watched it for this list. Honestly, I have a feeling it could have at least been in contention for me because it seems like it's playing a lot of ideas that I really like. But yeah, never seen it.
I think 2012 was like arguably of the 2010s the best year for animated movies. Like, there's a lot of strong films came out that year. The fact that they gave the Oscar to Brave is puzzling. But oh yeah, Frankenweenie is I think one of the standout. I think the film's great. I do have a different Halloween themed movie, which I think I already X'd earlier. But yeah, no, this is a great pick.
Yeah, not the biggest Tim Burton fan, so yeah, I've not seen it.
That's fair.
What? Shocker. Shocker.
Sorry.
We will get to Paul's 31.
All right, this is a movie I kind of wish I put higher. It's a movie I watch all the time. It's from one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. It's his first ever movie. Number 31 is Hayao Miyazaki's directorial debut, Lupin III: The Castle of Cagliostro. So this is like an animated heist movie in reality. That's kind of really the premise of the movie, and follows this con man. He's got he runs into this princess, and he has to try and rescue her from this crazy baron who's living in Cagliostro, which is this weird island kind of country unto itself. And I just think it's so fun and free-flowing. I love the character of Lupin. I've seen him in many forms in anime, and I actually do want to watch the French Netflix series they have live action with him. But I think it's such a fun... it's just an awesome movie that's like so my kind of crime animated, kind of goofy heist movie where the physics are kind of weird and sometimes the people don't react in the kind of ways that you would expect. It's got a great dynamic with him and the Inspector Zenigata. I love their back and forth. And I love how it imbues some of, the classic Lupin mythology, but in a way that's not like off-putting, and you don't really have to know any of his other stuff to dive into this. I just think it's a super fun, super rewatchable movie too. I think it's one I find myself wanting to revisit a lot. And it's, it's kind of slight. It's not doesn't have great big themes, and it's not this crazy big world. But I just think it's such a blast. And this is a movie I rewatch constantly. And I'd recommend it to anybody. It's on Netflix. It's just super fun. And it's not really like a lot of the other later Miyazaki's. It's very much him in more kind of the pop sensibility lane. But this movie fucking rules. And I love Lupin as a character. He's super fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just reiterate that. I love the character of Lupin. Lupin is such a great main character, super fun. And there are a lot of great sequences in this film. The chase scene towards the beginning of the movie in the cars after the princess, super well done, super creative, great looking. And then I love the dynamic between Lupin and this investigator that is after him. And the way that kind of their relationship shifts a little bit at a point in the movie is fantastic.
Oh, I got it. One thing I want to put the scene where they where he's being interviewed and he's standing in front of the counterfeit money. He's like, "Oh, I wonder what this could possibly be," and he turns around and it's this very obviously staged thing. All the stuff with the news cameras is fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, super fun. The one thing I will say is I don't know if I really agree with the heist descriptor.
I mean, not literally. I mean, it kind of is.
I was when you said this was kind of an animated heist movie, and maybe that's my fault for seeing that review beforehand, but I just happened to see it. I was a little disappointed that it didn't quite. I liked a lot of the side characters, but it felt like they were kind of pushed to the side and they didn't quite get as much to do. And I didn't love the last 10-15 minutes of the movie, specifically with how they defeat the villain. That felt a little anticlimactic. The whole thing, the whole ending just kind of felt a little bit anticlimactic to me. I kind of wanted something a little bit more fun with everybody getting involved. But I still did really enjoy myself for the most part, and Lupin's a great character. Anyone else seen Lupin III: Castle Cagliostro?
Ironically, the only Lupin thing I've ever seen is the Netflix series. So no.
I saw this movie when I saw Ghostbusters 2 in 1989, and I don't remember most of it.
Mark, you seen this?
Saw a lot of Lupin stuff on Adult Swim and Toonami, and haven't checked this one out. I probably will. It sounds neat.
It's just fun.
We'll go to Chance's 31.
I think mine was already yikes for later. It's Beauty and the Beast.
All right. We will go to Mark's 31.
Alrighty. Well, I'm sure this would definitely be yikes. It's DuckTales, the movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp. Wait, Legend of the Lost Lamp. I don't know. Pretty sure it's Treasure.
Koho makes the banners.
Big Red Taylor guy, huh?
Well, I'm pretty sure he's wrong. Well, anyway, I mean, yeah, I mean, thank you, Koho. That's very nice of you. Yeah, I mentioned I have two way older brothers, and like another show they really liked was DuckTales, and that was one that was one that kind of transferred over, like, also for me, like just because I really like the show and like the movie, like it. Like I will say, like this is kind of one of those movies, at least for me, growing up. Like I always had like a stack of like VHS tapes I watched all the fucking time. And DuckTales was one of those movies I watched. I probably seen this movie like 200 fucking times when like I was like 5 years old. Like just killed that cassette tape, and it's just it is the show just in a 80-minute format where it's really wild, it's really crazy, it's really fun. At times, like it's really inventive, and it's not afraid to be like super out there and kind of mystical and stuff. And yeah, like it's one that's been with me for a while. And you know what, I think I've kind of backdoored this to a lot of like really weird villains, but you know what, when you get Christopher Lloyd to play an old dark wizard, I mean, how wrong can you go?
Christopher Lloyd is not the problem with this movie, Mark. I wanted to kick Rip Taylor into a pile of leaves that were on fire. The genie is so annoying, and I'm glad Clements and Mustard didn't take notes when they were watching that, or maybe they did and said, "Don't do this." Yeah, I hated the genie so much. I will put this disclaimer out there. I have never seen an episode of the original DuckTales show, so it was before my time a little bit.
It does seem like your kind of thing, though.
It does.
I'm not saying I've never watched the original DuckTales show. I did watch a little bit of the reboot, and I actually do really like the reboot. But maybe that's the problem, is I went into this movie without really any association with this DuckTales. So I was a little annoyed with the genie. I didn't really care about, like, I think with this, there's no real differentiation between Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They're just kind of all there.
Well, that was the show.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they do it in the movie, so it's bad. Just because it's bad in the show doesn't mean it's not bad in the movie.
I'm not defending. I'm just saying, like, that's how it was in the show.
Okay.
And that's how it was for decades before the show came.
Then maybe the show didn't need a movie. I find this one to be. I found it to be very average for everything else, and the genie was just so annoying. I hated everything involving the genie. So that kind of killed the movie. Christopher Lloyd's fine. He's doing Hacker from Cyber Chase. It's the same voice, same attitude. It's Hacker from Cyber Chase.
Damn. For Cyber Chase, check on this show.
I would say that the best thing that they did with the reboot was make Louie kind of like kind of evil, I guess. I don't know. It's not
Louie's kind of an asshole.
It's great. Yeah, this movie is not great. As a fan of the original show who watched it when it was intended at the end of the 80s and in the early 90s, I would say if you want to watch a DuckTales movie that actually works, watch The Treasure of the Lost Lamp. I don't know. No, wait. The Treasure of the Golden Sons. Sorry.
Oh, I was like,
yeah, you're right. Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
The Treasure of the Golden Sons. I don't know if
this is Legend of the Lost Lamp. They're different.
I don't know if it was done the same in the United States, but I got it on a VHS tape as a movie. the Treasure of the Golden Sons, which was the introductory thing, why Donald leaves the kids with Scrooge, how he starts their relationship, is great. I think they then chopped it and made it like first 5 episodes of season 1 or something like that. But it really works as a package. So I'd say look for that. Look for the Treasure of the Golden Sons. It's the superior movie from the original Doctor series. And yes,
I'm gonna let you know, Nazario. Right, I'm gonna let you know right now, Nazario. I'm not doing that.
You should
look. I will give this movie this. It cannot possibly be the worst movie featuring a genie that's animated because I've seen Return of Jafar, which is a fucking abomination on the eyes, the ears, and the soul. But this movie, I've actually, I've never seen this. I've seen some DuckTales like here and there, kind of when it was rebroadcasted on TV, but it just was never something that I really followed. I also would always just get confused because I used to have that Mickey Christmas anthology thing, and I would always think that that Donald's nephews are like the same thing, and I was like, that's not the DuckTales, and it was like a whole thing. But I've never seen this. I don't really have a strong desire to, honestly. It seems like it's fine. I mean, this is like your 31st favorite anime movie of all time. Is kind of wild to me. Like, that's kind of insane.
Do you want to remind us what your 32 is?
Oh, Beauty and the Beast. I don't know why you bring it up.
But anyway.
A lot better than Beauty and the Beast, Mark.
If I had it,
It's just slightly better.
It would have Rick Taylor in it, wouldn't have? If Rick Taylor would have sang "Be Our Guest," that would have been Mark's favorite movie.
Oh yeah, for me, so personally, I find this to be like an inoffensive hour and 20 minutes. I think it's fine. I never had a strong I love the show. I really do like the original show for reasons I can't explain. It was a weird relationship with me and DuckTales. But yeah, no, the show. I think the movie's inoffensive enough. Wouldn't even sniff my top 40. And I do echo Caleb's sentiments about the genie. He can be a little much at times. At least from what I remember. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah. So now we're at Nazario.
The inmates are on the asylum.
The right thing, Cody. The right thing.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go home early today because my 31 is Makoto Shinkai's your name.
That is a yikes.
Still, yeah.
Yep. We're done for the day, boys.
An hour 46-minute episode. I mean, I guess that's early for a Kirk episode. But yeah, we'll get out of here. Thank you. Thank you.
Jesus Christ.
Grades. We have to give out grades. Yep. Last time I forgot about this.
We don't grade as a whole.
Well, by individuals and then as a whole.
Individual grades week to week as well.
Oh, well,
in last place with a C-, and that's the key of C-. That's probably what the Beatles were singing in when they made Yellow Submarine because it's Chance. Yeah, you had some good ones on here. You had Beauty and the Beast. You had How to Train Your Dragon. But you also had Watership Down and Yellow Submarine, which, much like a submarine, sank deep down and didn't really come back up.
I think they'd be grading.
In his defense, none of his good movies got talked about, basically.
That is true.
That is true. Yes, nothing else got talked about today.
At the C- level, right? Next, Mark with a C+. Mark had some fun ones on there. Peanuts movie is great. You got How to Train Your Dragon. You got the Simpsons movie. You got Beauty and the Beast in there. Really, the one thing that brought your list down was DuckTales. That was the only thing on here.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah. That's the one thing that, because I didn't watch Transformers and I like freestyle.
Honestly, if you would have watched Transformers, you might have lost.
Like,
you might have lost.
That's fucking wild to me.
You probably would have. Then our top two were quite close. But in second place, I am going with Nazario with a B. Nazario, the thing that I think hurt Nazario most is that I have not yet watched Your Name because it's been yikes, so I was able to take a little bit of time with it. So I might owe Nazario an apology when I do eventually watch Your Name. But I don't. There's one movie, I'm not going to say what it is, that we have not talked about yet that I do not like that is on your list. and you'll find out what that is next time. And the winner, of course, tonight is Paul. Paul, I don't think he had anything bad on his list. He had like some ones that I just thought were okay, like Loving Vincent, but Paul didn't have anything even really remotely bad on his list. So that's really what won him tonight, and probably the best first-time watches for this wave that I had. So Paul wins tonight. So yeah, unless I'm forgetting anything else, I think that is it. So thank you to our panelists. Thank you everyone for watching.
Do you have a Yikes graphic or something?
I don't believe so.
Boo.
Thanks for interrupting my intro. Sorry, outro. Bye.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Now what will it be? Death or exile?
You're hopeless. You're a hopeless mental case.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Normally, I would say Auf Wiedersehen. But since what Auf Wiedersehen actually means is till I see you again, and since I never wish to see you again, to you, sir, I say goodbye.